Before we dive into Git aliases, I want to talk about the global config file. We've talked about configuring Git a couple of different times, and there are multiple places we can configure Git. There's actually three. There is the local config file in every single Git repo. We talked about that, I think, one or two sections ago. In the .git directory, there is a file called config. So settings in there apply to one repo, and just that one local repo. Then we have the global git config file, where we can configure settings that will apply across all repos. But there's actually one level above that, which I never use. There's a system-wide config file. If you have multiple users and accounts on one machine, that system-wide config file would apply to all of those users. But I just use one account for the most part, so I configure things globally if I want them to impact all of my repos. So we configured things globally early on using the command line, git config, and then we do -- global, and then user.name, for example. That's one thing that we set. And then we also did user.email. I'm just retrieving those values, but I could change them from the command line. And when we learn how to make aliases in the next video, I can do that from the command line. I'm just adding a new configuration, or I'm changing a setting. But it's kind of annoying to do it from the command line. For me, at least, I like to see all of my aliases at once. So we can actually open up the config file, the global config file. So where do we look for that? We saw that the local config file lives in the .git folder for every repo. Well, the global config file is called .git config. It's a hidden file, and it's located in the home directory by default. So we can take a look at it. I could just print it out. So it's tilde to reference the home directory, .git config. And this is what I have in it right now. I don't think I've really done a whole lot in this config file. I've set up, really not much. Also, I'll just open it over here. Here we go. So we have things like user, name is called Steele. So I could change that here, or change my email here, and this does the exact same thing that this line did right here if I were to set user.name to be something else. So two interfaces that change the same setting. One from the command line, it actually changes this file right here. So if I run this, you'll see it now has been updated. I didn't change this in the file myself. This command triggered that change, but I'm going to go back to what we had in there, and I'm going to save that. Okay, so there are lots of settings that we can change in here, just like with the local config files. It's kind of overwhelming how many things you can update. Aliases are probably the most important, aside from the basic things like your username and email, as well as setting up your editor. So I did this early on. If you recall, I used VS Code. I set that up. That's what this code is. That's just the name that we use to refer to VS Code, but this could be another editor's name. That's where we tell Git what editor to use by default. And so that's the sort of thing we want to happen globally in all repos. The same goes for setting up these aliases that I'll show you in the next video. We want them to apply across all repos, presumably. I mean, they don't have to. But if you want to use these nice aliases, why not use them everywhere? Anyway, the last thing I'll just remind you of is this weird syntax. So if you want to change username, its user is the entity or the group that we reference in square brackets. You don't have to indent, but everybody does. It makes it clear, this relationship here, that name is nested under user. And then we set name equal to something. From the command line, it's user and then dot some property like name. So it does vary the way that it's set up, or the syntax, but they end up changing the same setting. Anyway, this is our global git config file. In the next video, we will learn how to add some basic aliases to somewhere in this file, and hopefully they're very useful. So let's see how to do that.